Hello, I am Tara, the author of the Dining on a Dime cookbook, and I am fangirling today. One of my favorite YouTubers, Dirt Patch Heaven, is here. Julianne is visiting us in our kitchen.
And it's super fun, and I'm totally fangirling back because we're in front of the wall, and we got the husband operating everything, so everything is smooth.
So she was happening to come through. I've tried to catch you several times. I see, but what happens when you do videos is it doesn't always go up the day you're there.
There's a huge lag.
Yeah, you shoot and then 4 or 5 days later, well, you're already gone by then. Yep. So, you know, it's kind of hard. But I actually caught her this time. She came by to visit us. We've had a great visit. But we're going to talk about prepping on $10 a week.
Yeah.
Go to Dirt Patch Heaven on YouTube. Check out my video that she did with me on $5 a week. But we want to do $10 a week because some people will have a little bit more money.
Right.
And you don't have to do it super, super cheap. And it's amazing that $5 can actually help a lot. Now, one of the things I would do if I had $10 a week is I would save up for 2 months and get Dining on a Dime. Now, I know this is kind of a plug, but seriously, missionaries use Dining on a Dime all the time because we have things like soda crackers, homemade taco seasoning, how to make your own popsicles, how to make your own pancakes, scrambled eggs, iced tea, all those how to make a devil's food cake. You don't have to make, cake does not come in a box.
Right.
And we have really super yummy cake mixes, cake recipes in here. We've tested every recipe many times. We know they work. And it will help you get through when you know how to make your own homemade bread. It will help you get through those hard times that you're not expecting. So we're gonna share, each of us, if we had $10 a week, how would we prep our food storage? Because $10 really is quite a bit of money to build up. So you have special dietary needs. So give me your basic list of special dietary needs versus normal family. How would you do it both ways? Okay. And I'll let you start with that.
Okay, so I always start with tomato paste because it makes everything spread further and it's very flavorful and you can make so much with it. You can make tomato sauce, you can put it on pizza, you can make it into tomato soup for dipping in, you can make it into spaghetti sauce, you can put it in lasagna. The only thing is you do have to add water, you need to add salt, you need to add spices if you're going to use tomato paste. But it's very light, it's very concentrated, and it's very inexpensive depending. We have a Winco where we are and we love it, so you can get a small can of tomato paste for like 43 cents.
And it's paste, not sauce or soup or spaghetti sauce. It comes in a little can about this big. And it's super, super concentrated because they've taken all the water out.
Yeah, and it tastes bad, so don't try to eat it as it is.
But it's really easy to store because it's small, but you get a lot of flavor out of it, so yeah.
Or you can even add it to soup. If we have a vegetable beef soup, we'll add tomato paste to it to add that little bit
so
of
like, let's say week 1, you spend $10 on tomato paste, getting $10 worth of tomato paste, then what would you get on week 2?
Week 2, I would probably get salt and spices. And if you have a bulk section, it's much better to get the bulk section than the individual spices in their jars because you're paying for the jars, not the spices.
Amish food stores, health food stores, a lot of time, even our regular grocery store now has a bulk section, and it is about 1/10 of the price. For me when I buy it in bulk. But you can at Walmart. Now I will say at Walmart, the little bottles at Walmart are fairly inexpensive. So if you don't have a bulk store, get the little bottles at Walmart.
Yeah, or use your pill bottles. If you really are on a very strict budget, take your medicine, your pill, your aspirin bottles, or little Ziplocs and use that. Just make sure to label your baggies.
Rinse it out and label it,
Because if you don't label it, you have no idea where it's supposed to go, and it does matter which spice you use in which food. But for the first week, I wouldn't buy all of it as tomato paste. I would get several canned goods. Like I would probably get like 4 cans of tomato paste, 4 cans of mushrooms, and what are the other ones that I get? You know, I would almost just get my salt and my spices on the same week because I would only get 4 tomato paste, 4 mushrooms, and then I would get my salt and I would get my spices, because salt is incredibly inexpensive. It's like $1 for this much.
Yeah.
And the spices, because they're very light. So I am always thinking Italian night on my first big priority of, do I have these things?
Yeah, and we do Mexican, so we do Mexican food, that type of thing. So then what would be the next staple you would buy?
Whatever noodles you can afford to buy, whatever you get along with, I would invest heavily in noodles. For us, we can
gluten-free.
eat. Yeah, we eat Asian noodles. They're much less expensive than gluten-free noodles, and we don't. They're made from either mung bean or tapioca starch. When the mung beans are a bean, the tapioca is a root, and you can get those in the Asian section. And so we go hog wild on those, and we'll buy as many as we can for however much money we have, and we always like to keep at least 10 packages on hand if because those do go bad because they are noodles.
Yeah.
But that would be my second week that I would purchase.
Yeah. Okay, then what would you do for your third week?
For my third week, I would do beans and lentils. I like to get them from natural grocers because you can get the organic ones for the same price as the conventional ones, even at Walmart or Albertsons or something. So natural grocers, I love them for that. And I could probably get 2 each, 2 beans and 2 lentils for the $10. Maybe as many as 6 if they're running a sale or if you have a good coupon. But it would be beans and lentils.
And what would you do for week 4?
What would I do for week 4? I might actually get buckets at that point. If you have other buckets, like the kitty litter bucket is amazing.
Yeah, that was what I was going to show. We had 3 cats at one point because my niece moved in with us and she had brought her couple of cats. So we were going through a lot of cat litter for a while. And these are square. A lot better than round because they store easier. I can just stack them all up. And I can take things like my rice and I buy them in smaller packets. And my beans, buy them in smaller packets. Spaghetti fits in here. Macaroni and cheese, that kind of thing. I would look for a free source of buckets first.
Yeah.
Restaurants, bakeries, delis, those kinds of things. Either free or cheap. Now, if you can't get the square, certainly get the circular.
But the square is so much better.
But the square does actually, and in the circular ones, I stand up my rice and my beans when I had the circular ones. Because then I got more in there.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't having extra little pockets on the side there.
If I didn't do buckets, if I found buckets free, I would do teas and coffees. I would do things that give you flavor, because a lot of times we get bored and we think we need to eat and we think we need to go to groceries, when in reality you're dehydrated, or maybe your mouth is a little bored or your brain is something here is
something
bored.
hot always helps too.
Something hot. Or, for instance, you can make something called kombucha if you want to. I don't do kombucha because the alcohol content in it kind of messes with me a little bit. But you can make kombucha with your sugar and your tea, and it's considered a healthy probiotic drink. But tea is if I'm not drinking tea on a regular basis all day long, I notice I eat more. I go through my food storage more. It costs more to feed my family. And then we're dehydrated and we don't feel as well. We don't digest our food as well. So I go and I buy a lot of herbal teas so that I'm not overdoing it on caffeine. I might have a little bit of caffeine tea or something for energy. But I don't think that water is just enough. A lot of times we kind of think we can do. But if you're addicted to pop, if you're addicted to drinking a lot of sugar and drinking milk, that will suck your food storage budget out from under you.
Yeah.
If you're drinking a lot of that.
Yeah. What else would you do for your next kind of step in doing your food prep?
If I was doing food prep just to be frugal, I would do it separately than if I was doing some kind of prepper prep. To me, tools are always like a really big deal. Having something like a cookbook that would allow me to make the most of what I already have on hand, or a tool like a dehydrator.
Or a meat grinder.
Or a meat grinder.
Yeah.
Anything like that is... that you would use a lot. I'm a big pro tool. Increase your skill set, increase what you can do in your own kitchen rather than outsourcing it somewhere else. So for me, $10 a week is pretty. This is what we did. We had a lot of free food storage because my parents downsized. And then what happened was we were eating out of our food storage. We had a $50 a week food budget. We already had food storage. I already knew how to use the food storage. So the only thing we were really buying from the grocery store was fresh, but we were always putting something else in. For instance, we have very inexpensive cheese at Winco at like $4 for 2 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And so once a month, or not even once a month because we didn't need it that often, but one week I would go in and buy a whole bunch of cheese and put it in the fridge, and it would stay good for 6 months, and we would just pull out cheese as we needed it.
Yeah.
And the next week I would go in and I would buy canned goods, and then I would put that in my food storage. And the next week I would go in and get soap making supplies, and then I would put that in food storage, because it made sense to me to just fill up the big things that I had. We would use our tax return. Our big thing to do was we would take our tax return and we would make up a list of things we used all the time. We'd go in and get it, so that on $10 a week we were actually going in and getting fresh things to put in the fridge that were for food storage.
Yeah.
And so it's a little, for us, it always was about taking in and getting all of the big bulk things at once. And then we really could literally go months without food storage, and it would include fresh food like cheese or squash or potatoes. We'd buy 800 pounds of potatoes at a time. We'd buy 200 pounds of squash at a time. We'd buy 100 pounds of sweet potatoes at a time, 100 pounds of maybe 20 pounds of cheese at a time. And that way we didn't actually need a grocery budget. We didn't actually have a grocery budget.
Yeah.
We just had a fill-up budget.
That makes sense. And you don't necessarily, because I know a lot of people, they're going to hear, oh, 50 pounds. There's no way I'm buying 50 pounds of, you don't necessarily, first of all, have to buy it that big.
Right. They have 20-pound bags, they have 10-pound bags.
When we have an abundance of something, we dehydrate it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a good place to store. I don't, because we're in the city, but I don't have a cellar or anything like that. My basement isn't really conducive to food storage. Not potatoes, that kind of thing.
Right.
So what we do is when we get an abundance, we will dehydrate it.
Yeah.
And I'll dehydrate, this is sweet potatoes. We just cook it, spread it on the dehydrator and dehydrate it, and then we have sweet potato chips, and then I just rehydrate those. Like the bell peppers here, I'll just rehydrate these and use these. What else did we use? Oh yeah, hash browns. Now, I would vacuum seal these for food storage, but we use these quick enough at the moment that I just had these in a regular bag. If I were doing $10 a week, I would do the same thing really as you. I would get my salt, my spices, my tomato paste, my noodles. The first month, I would get maybe a box of dry milk or 2 of dry milk. I would get a thing of tea, maybe a thing of coffee. The second month, I would invest in some sort of water filtration. Like I got food safe 5-gallon buckets with a ceramic filter. I'll put the link in the description below for those, with a spigot for big food, for big water filtration, because those ceramic filters work great. You can go out to the creek. This is what they use in Africa to help the missionaries and the people in Africa, places where they don't have good fresh water. You can go to the creek if you need to and pour it in there. So I got that. I also did get a portable one. And I got 2 of those portable ones so that if we're on the go, we can pour the water in there and then it'll filter through. Now, you're not gonna be able to take a bath with this. This is for emergency food only. The next month then, I would get a few canned goods. So I would get like a few Pop-Top, make sure they have the Pop-Top, canned soups, SpaghettiOs, raviolis, those kinds of things for super easy, I can't, my brain's not working right now, but super easy if we just could not do anything else.
And kids were having to feed themselves
they
for some reason.
Pull it open and eat. Yeah. Exactly, that kind of thing. If you were sick or injured or something, the kids could take care of it. Yeah, that's a very good example. The other thing, make sure you have a can opener.
Yeah.
Don't buy all this stuff and not have a can opener. Yeah. That happens all the time. So get yourself a few things like that. Then I would go into my meats. Give me some tuna. I would get me some canned chicken. You can get dehydrated if you want. Spend 2 weeks worth of your budget and get a can of dehydrated chicken, that kind of thing. Freeze-dried would be fine. Freeze-dried is a little more expensive, but it does last longer than the dehydrated, but it is more expensive. So you kind of have to weigh your costs there. And then I store all my noodles and everything like macaroni and cheese, spaghetti, rice, those kinds of things in these cat containers. And then on the top, I rinse them out, clean them out, but I just leave them in, I don't take them out of their package. I just leave them in the package and just drop the whole thing in. And I get, even though it costs more, I get the smaller packets.
Yeah.
They're easier to use, they're easier to move around, easier to store. And for the extra cost, which really is literally like 2 cents a pound, it's worth it for me. And then I just put them in here. I got some diatomaceous earth. You can get that in the link below too. Sprinkle that on top so the bugs, if they happen to get in here, which usually they don't, but just in case they happen to, then the bugs don't get to my food. They'll die before they get to my food. And that's pretty much how I would start. And then after month, probably 3 or 4, I've got a good little supply. I would get things like powdered peanut butter. If you can eat that, a few fun things. I would get a coffee. I would get teas too, because you're gonna need something to calm your nerves. Yeah. Chocolate. Have a little bit of chocolate left over. Powdered cocoa. You could get powdered cocoa and make homemade chocolate milk with dry milk and powdered cocoa and a little bit of sugar. I would get my sugars and my flours. Now, make sure you rotate your flour and your sugar. It does not last forever. It lasts a good time, but not forever. Right. And then I would get into my honey. Yeah. Honey is expensive, but honey lasts forever. And here's another tip on the rice. Get the white rice and not the brown. The brown goes rancid a lot quicker than the white rice does. So if you're looking for long-term storage, I would get the white rice because it will not go rancid like the brown rice will.
Well, and I think a lot of people, they don't understand just how much food they need.
Yeah.
As far as like, I think people overestimate how much food they need.
This is 2 servings.
Yeah.
2 servings right here.
Yeah.
But I know people that will sit down and eat the whole thing.
Well, and when it comes down, for us, for instance, we used to have like 5 years worth of food storage. We had bags and bags and bags of food. But in reality, we prep this way now. If it was a bigger family, or if you were extremely remote, I think having bigger bags of things. But for us now, we travel a lot. And so our food storage looks much more similar to Tara's than it used to. And we keep things in small bags. And I look back at some of the fear I felt when I was doing all the huge food storage prepping and looking at the big bulky bags of food that I had, and how much I think you can actually waste money on food storage. If you go overboard and you're not cycling through it, if you're not actually using it and it just sits in your food storage room, it's money that just is gone. Yeah. Because it does have an expiration date. And so we're not telling you to go out and spend all your grocery money on food storage. Doing something closer to this means that you're actually getting what you'll use. You're getting it in an amount you can actually go through it. And because food storage shouldn't be a burden. Yeah. And start with having 1 week worth of extra food, then have 2 weeks and work your way up. Now I have 3 to 6 months, and actually we could probably get by if we were really careful on our portioning a year with the food that I have just in my house, my fridge, my freezer, my pantry, and then my extra. But the thing is, guys, you never know when a major catastrophe is gonna happen. Like we had the floods, and I know I'm always talking about this, but the thing is, our town sits on like a hill, which is great, except we could not get out of town to get to the grocery store, or we couldn't get out of town at all because all the rivers around us had flooded so bad we couldn't get out of town. My town does not have a grocery store. My town does not even have a convenience store. Or even not a flood, even a blizzard. Blizzard, yeah. One time, about 10 years ago, Colorado had a blizzard, knocked the power out for 2 weeks. And it was a major blizzard. Yeah. And so you never know when you're gonna have some sort of situation. Husband gets sick, husband gets disabled, who knows what, and you need to take care of yourself, or your kids need to take care of yourself. And that's why I do things with like the Pop Top, even though it's not a lot cheaper.
I have a combination of both, so that, let's say I can't get water to make my fresh beans. Okay, we still have canned food that we can eat until we can figure out the water situation. So.
And once you get beyond the basics, it's so easy to go out and then get some of the luxury stuff. That's exactly what we did, but we did it with like canned fruit. My kids love canned fruit.
Yeah, canned fruit.
They'll put it on cottage cheese for a lunch. And I get the Pop Tops because I already had all my other food storage. I had all the other dry ingredients I needed. And so then I was able to move on to the things that were just about convenience and making sure they were eating healthy and that we weren't eating out. Because even with the expense of something like this, it's that if it was like even $1, say it was $1, and you had some cottage cheese that cost you $2 for the container, so both of your children could eat half of this and then a couple scoops of cottage cheese, and it might cost $1.50. $2, maybe $2 at the most for that lunch. But if you take them to McDonald's, how much does it cost?
Oh yeah, oh brother, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about, people hear the word prepper and they see all the crazies. That's not what it's about. It's about being prepared to care for yourself so that someone else doesn't have to care for yourself. It's being prepared. Like our town has a chemical plant here. Well, they had to evacuate like 10 years ago. They had to evacuate because something happened with that. And so I have a backpack with, everyone has red shirts. I got a red shirt for everyone so that if we got separated, I knew what everyone was wearing and we could see each other easy. It's a red long sleeve shirt so that if we need to go in the winter, we have the long sleeve. If it's the summer, I have a pair of scissors and I'll just cut off the sleeves. Then I have some granola bars, some beef jerky, few things like that. Our water purifier in there. I have a permanent marker so that if we have to evacuate, I can write on the younger kids' our name, address, phone numbers on their skin of other family members, that kind of thing. All that's in my backpack. But guys, these things really happen. Look at Katrina. Look at Hurricane Sandy. Look at the tornadoes.
Or you just run out of gas by the side of the road.
Yeah. Look at these things that happen.
It doesn't even have to be catastrophic. It could just be, I have a baby, so I'm going to put formula in my emergency kit in my car.
Water.
Some water, some formula, and I'm wearing flip-flops, but I know I have shoes in my away bag.
Yeah.
So that if I'm stupid and I left without shoes, I'm not going to get frostbite on my feet because it's winter. Type of stuff.
And so it's about taking care of yourself. Stop expecting everyone else to take care of you. You have to take care of yourself in these situations. And then if you're taking care of yourself, then you can help the other people, the elderly neighbors that can't get around very easy, grandparents, family members, those kinds of things. You can go help those people that need help then. And they're not having to help you.
It's like in an airplane where they say, put the oxygen on your face first.
Yeah.
And literally that's what this is about. It's about making sure that you have what you need to function so that you can help other people. It's not about excluding other people or not helping other people. For our family, if people came in to help us, we would be either very sick or we would starve to death if we were relying on what other people could bring us. When I go to somebody else's house, I bring a cooler of food knowing that if I want to keep my family healthy, I have to have everything that I need. It's like a small get-out bag for me because I can function for 2 days on what I bring in. And then I can rely on the generosity of others with what they can offer, but it's initially my responsibility to make sure that my family and myself are well. It's not somebody else's responsibility to know every little thing that I need. And in a bigger situation in your home, it translates to the same thing.
And it is, I'll give an example. In our Penny Pension Mama series, if you go back and watch that series about how mom raised 2 teenagers on $500 a month, we talk about the blizzard. And we had left Colorado. It was a beautiful sunshiny day like today. We got a mile and a half out of town and we were caught in the worst blizzard they'd had in years, to the point where we could not move our car. And we got pulled over and we happened to see a car in front, so we thought, well, we'll go see if those people are okay. And it was 2 ladies dressed to the nines. They had no water, no food. They didn't even have a coat, I don't think.
Yeah.
And my kids always get mad at me. What do you mean we need a coat? It's March. It's like
Colorado.
It's March in Colorado, our snowiest season
It could
of
be
the
June.
year.
It could be June, and you need a coat.
And you need to take it with you. And now this happened to be November, so why these people were without a coat in November? I was like, but they had nothing. And here we were stranded on the side of the road trying to wait for help to come help dig us out because we couldn't get out. And we at least had food, a little bit of snacks, a little bit of water. Always take those things with you because it really helps.
It matters.
You know? Yeah, so you need to be prepared just for life, guys, not just for the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
You know, it's like, everyone's like, oh, the sky is falling, sky is falling. It's not just that, guys. You really need to just be prepared for normal life. So go grab our Dining on a Dime cookbook, but go over and check out Dirt Patch Heaven. She has a ton of gardening videos and how-to videos. I love watching your channel. They were in Idaho, they're in Tulsa right now, but they're getting ready to maybe move again because they were in, her husband was in school. So she has a good variety of videos on how to garden in different places because I've lived in Idaho. Idaho gardening when you get snow on the 4th of July is totally different from Oklahoma and Kansas where your stuff burns to a crisp on the 4th of July. And so she has a lot of great videos showing you how to work around those issues and that kind of thing. So go check out Dirt Patch Heaven. Visit us at livingonadime.com and we will see you guys next time.